The one who slipped, and I started to realize I was living one big lie. She hates me. Trust, she hates me. La 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 la. Never thought I'd be the one who'd slip. All right. What am I looking for? Not here. I hate that. Okay. Cool. Alrighty then. All right, let me just share this real quick and I will get started. Thank you. All right, let me just share this real quick and I will get started. Ooh, I need to mute myself. There we go. How do I get that link into my phone? It's fine. Whew. Give me 2 seconds. I'll get started. If you're watching this after this anyway, you need to be asleep. So stop bumping me. What am I going? Goodness gracious. Any participants? Anybody here? When someone's here, I'll start. I don't count. Okay, puppies. Shush. Lay down. Okay. I'm gonna start as though somebody's watching. I'm just gonna go to Unit 2. And kick out the dog that's making all the noise. Only Piper. Piper, go. Go, Piper. No, you don't need to go. Okay, we have a guest. Okay, I'm gonna stream until 7, and then I'm gonna go to therapy, and then I'm gonna come back. If you can hear me, acknowledge. Wait, can I even see the chat? I can. Hi. All right, here we go. Unit 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's see if we can get through all of them and then touch on FRQs and test tips again. But like I said, I'm going to go to therapy and then come back. So, Unit 2, cognition. Am I in the corner? I am in the corner. All right. 2.1a, perception. We perceive after we sense. Okay? So we've got to interpret the sensation that we have going on. There's a fly in here. I want it dead. All right. Selective attention, inattentional blindness, change blindness, perceptual set. Perceptual set and selective attention are the most important things from this slide. Selective attention is focusing. Hold on. Can you hear me? I can't hear me. Huh? Can you hear me? I felt like it went the wrong way. There you go. Can you hear me? I can hear me now. Can you hear me now? Could you hear me before? It's too late. All right. Perceptual set. Mental predisposition to perceive one thing and not another. Based on schemas, mostly. Cool. Gestalt means whole, organized whole. It was a branch of psychology in the beginning. It has to do with how we group things together and how things are more important as the whole than the sum of their parts. Or they are the sum of their parts, okay? Breaking it down, it was a reaction to biology and saying that to have everything broken down into its smallest units is kind of bad for us. That's kind of what they were saying, but we don't really need to know all the science of it. Are you watching on your phone or a laptop? How big do I need to be? Does it matter? Okay. Go back. Gestalt, figure ground, grouping, depth perception, visual cliff. Visual cliff, they give to babies. Binocular cues are how we see with two eyes. Convergence is when your eyes cross. So when you take off your glasses and you look silly, that's you. Ta-da. Hold on, let me scroll. Two watching, and I'm one of them. Okay, visual cliff, convergence, cool. Stroboscopic movement, pictures together, we can see them as a video. Pi phenomenon. Hold on, I gotta set an alarm on my phone real quick so I know when to get off so I can go to therapy. What time is it now? That doesn't matter. Nope, that's my wake up alarm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 05. Cool. You're fine. Okay. Perceptual constancy, color constancy, those matter for the sake of maybe questions, multiple choice that they ask. Perceptual adaptation is the ability to adjust to change sensory input, including an artificially displaced or even inverted visual field. If I give you goggles that make everything in the world appear upside down, your brain will flip and figure it out. If you ever back up a car and you are only forced to drive backwards for the rest of your life, it might seem hard at first, but your brain will figure it out, and that's perceptual adaptation. Cognition is what? What is cognition? What is the word we think of when we think of cognition? Tell me, fans. Number one fans. Ooh, 5 watching. Holy crap. What does cognition mean? Cognition means waiting for you in the chat. I know there's a delay. Also, it's represented by what finger pointing to what part of our head. Okay. So I'll let y'all figure that out in the chat. Fight it out. Make it a race. All right. Metacognition is thinking about our thinking. That's actually a clue to the answer for the question that I just asked. Yay. Way to go. It's thinking. And where does the finger point? Cool. You figure that out. Concept is a mental grouping similar objects, events, ideas, or people. We have a concept of a plan. It's Jackson. Hey, Jackson. A prototype is the best example of a category. Prototype is the best example of a category. When I think of a race car. Ooh, race car. I think of a race car. I think of a Porsche GT3 RS. That's my favorite race car. Okay. Schema is a concept or framework that organizes and interprets information. Think of it as a filter. A filter where certain information goes and stays. Different filters that we can apply to different parts of our life. Assimilation is interpreting our new experiences in terms of our existing schemas. So let's say that we meet a new prototype, a new animal, and we've got to fit it into all the categories, the schemas that we already have. Accommodation is adapting our current schemas to incorporate new information. Creativity is the ability to produce. All right, convergent and divergent thinking. Convergent thinking is all of our answers going in the same direction. All of our answers going in the same direction, trying to get one correct answer. One correct answer is convergent thinking. Divergent thinking is spanning the number of possible problem solutions, and that just means we're trying to get multiple answers to a problem. We're trying to see if you can critically think on divergent thinking. That is a short answer question. Cool. Executive functions. Front part of the brain. What makes you human. Algorithm is steps to solve a problem. You will solve that problem. Oh, if you go through those steps. Heuristic is a mental shortcut. Insight is sudden realization of problem solution. Confirmation bias is when you're only looking for stuff to prove yourself right. Only looking for stuff to prove yourself right. Fixation is an inability to see a problem from a new perspective. One of the things that we talked about maybe is functional fixedness. If I needed to put a nail into the wall and I can only do it with a hammer, I'm thinking inside the box. I need to think outside the box. I need to find another way. If I don't have a hammer handy, to solve that problem. That's not too destructive, of course. So that's functional fixedness, right? Mental set is a tendency to approach a problem in one particular way, often a way that's been successful in the past. So maybe if you have solved the problem of not having a hammer before and you used a piece of metal in your hand and you over and over again to jam it into the wall, you can use that the next time. That's a mental set. And that's mean that your mental is set. That's part of it. Intuition, effortless, immediate, automatic feeling or thought, contrasted with explicit conscious reasoning. Representative heuristic is to what extent something matches what represents a certain category. And we use the shortcut of saying it looks like that instead of thinking through all the steps. Availability heuristic is convenience. If it's something that's been recently on our mind, we think it's more common than it actually is. It's a little bit to go with that confirmation bias. I'm going to try to get through this faster because I'm going to stop streaming at 7:05. I'm going to take a little break and I'm going to come back after I go to therapy. All right. Overconfidence is all of our impulsive boys that we have. Know what I'm saying? All right. Belief perseverance is believing what you want to believe after you get contrary evidence. You still believe the same thing, even though it's literally been proven false in front of you. Framing is the way an issue is posed has a chance to change the way people feel about things. So if I'm asking a survey and I say, how do you feel about the regulation of firearms versus if I say, how do you feel about giving guns to kids, right? That's a nudge, is telling people what they should think while they're answering a question. All right, memory, recall, recognition, relearning, encoding, storage, retrieval. We have encoding, storage is leaving it there, and retrieval is recalling it, getting it back out. Okay. Memory is the learning over time. Recall is a higher order of testing of your brain. It is to see if you can regurgitate that information without too much prompting. Recognition is just multiple choice. It's seeing the right answer right there. You don't have to come up with it out of thin air, which means that it's a lower level of processing. Relearning, if we learn something the first time, theoretically, when we learned units 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 at the beginning of the year, theoretically, all of this should just be relearning and starting from a higher baseline. So we're going to make reignite those connections that we made the first time, and that's what relearning is. Encoding, storage, retrieval, that's the 3 steps of memory consolidation. Sensory memories, very brief recording of sensory information in the memory system. Think of your echoic memory and your iconic memory. Short-term memory is briefly activated memory of few items that is later stored or forgotten. That stuff's going to go away. Long-term memory is the stuff that we have encoded. We've built the pathways. Working memory is using incoming sensory memory and information retrieved from long-term memory, and that's a lot like interleaving. Okay. Central executive coordinates activities of the phonological loop and visuospatial sketchpad. Phonological loop briefly holds auditory information. I just talked about that. Visuospatial sketchpad briefly holds information about objects' appearance and location in space, and you can remember it for a very, very short period of time. Long-term potentiation is your brain on crack. Okay. It just means that you can learn things quicker because your brain says, we're doing it. Explicit memories are declarative. You can declare that you were there. Nice. Effortful processing is a type of encoding that takes a lot of work. Automatic processing is unconscious encoding of incidental information. Like, you know all the things happening around you. You don't have to think about it. Implicit memories are non-declarative. These are things that you have learned or associations that you've made. Iconic memories, momentary sensory and visual stimuli. Iconic and echoic go back to visual, spatial, and phonological loop. Cool. Chunking, or as I said, chunky dunking. Chunking is breaking up your study time over a long period of time into smaller bits. Units, subunits, topics. Type. All right, here we go. Mnemonics are like our hand that we use to do the things. All right, thumb is for psychodynamic, psychoanalytic, unconscious bias. It is for the childhood trauma. I hope to bring mine up in therapy here in a minute. That, and it's Freud and it's dreams. It's all the things in the past coming back to haunt you now. This is cognition. Are you writing this down? Cognition. Cognition is with your index finger pointing to the front of your brain, and that means thinking, but it also means your executive functioning. It means your lack of impulsiveness. It means behaviorism, kind of, because that's all connected. And then your middle finger. I'm not going to do it because I don't know what to do to get in trouble or not in trouble on live streams. It's your middle finger because it's easy to remember because it's bad behavior to show your middle finger. I was actually doing it behind my hand, I promise. But your middle finger is behaviorism. Behaviorism is operant conditioning and classical conditioning, driving your decisions now, today. Everything that you do now is based on something that has been rewarded or punished in your past. Like, why are you sitting on the computer or your phone for so much time right now actually studying? That's actually a great question. Because someone told you it was important and rewarded you for doing it. Maybe. Let's see if we can pass our test tomorrow. That's the freaking goal. All right. Spacing effect is spreading it out over time. Oh, wait, we got more. Humanism. I'm not flipping you off, I promise. Humanism is reaching your fullest potential, self-actualization, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, unconditional positive regard, something like that. Pinky is biological. Biological is making a promise to follow the science and the scientific method. Biological is our genes, chemical imbalances, and quasi-evolutionary. Evolutionary is right here. You've evolved if you don't have this, but I do, which means that I have not evolved and I'm stupid. There you go. You see the shadow of it. Evolutionary perspective is about why do we have the things that we have? Why did they get there? Why do we react this way? Why do we fight or flight? It's because it all had a advantage to us in our development, and it propagated those genes through generations and generations. All right, shallow processing and deep processing. Shallow processing, coding on a basic level. Deep processing is obviously deeper than that. Semantic memory is applying meaning to the things that you're learning. And I did that experiment where we had the two groups, and the group that heard the noisy fan blow the pages off the table and pictured that, applied meaning to that to create a deeper level of storage in their brain. Episodic memory is explicit memory of personal experience events. Conscious memory system. Hippocampus is a neural center located in the limbic system. Helps process explicit, conscious memories or facts and events for storage. Hippocampus. Hippos go to campus to learn things. Hippocampus is tied to memory. Shut up and learn it. Memory consolidation is the neural storage of long-term memory. It happens when we sleep. Flashbulb memory is a clear, emotionally significant moment or event. Cool. Priming is the activation often unconsciously of particular associations of memory. Encoding specificity principle just says that certain cues and context specific to a particular memory will be most effective in helping us recall it. For example, the biggest thing here is the memory mansion, where you picture a house or a place or a path that you know very, very well, and you memorize all the things by associating them with something inside of that memory mansion. And every time you walk through it, you can picture that thing that you encoded in that specific spot. And that's how people memorize decks of cards in 30 seconds. Crazy. There's memory championships. I think it's really interesting. Look it up, but I don't really care to compete in them because I'm an idiot. Mood congruent memory means that whatever mood you're in helps with the encoding and the retrieval of whatever you learned. Serial position effect, the beginning of a list over time, and the end of the list immediately is what you remember. Interleaving, a retrieval practice strategy that involves mixing the study of different topics. So if we study biology and psychology at the same time, say that we had those tests at the same time, that is putting them together. All right, anterograde amnesia, an inability to form new memories. Retrograde amnesia, inability to remember information from one's past. Retro meaning past, can't remember the past. Anterograde amnesia is 51st dates. Retrograde amnesia is every other case of amnesia that we ever really think about. Cool, I'm a genius. Proactive interference is forward acting. Pro means forward, right? Older learning, doesn't let us learn new stuff. Retroactive, once again, our new stuff makes sure we can't recall old stuff. I don't know my old students' names anymore because of pruning. Repression is in psychoanalytic theory. Anytime we see these words, you should do the hand signal that goes with them to make that association. If you haven't been doing that all year, I hate you. Okay. Repression is a defense mechanism where we banish from consciousness anxiety arousing thoughts, feelings, memories. It's like denial, but potentially unconscious. You're not doing it on purpose. Actually, that could be unconscious too. Reconsolidation is a process in which previous stored memories, when retrieved, are potentially altered before being stored again. Misinformation effect occurs when a memory has been corrupted by misleading information. Like Elizabeth Loftus did a study on this. That might be the person you need to know. Source amnesia is forgetting where memory came from. Deja vu feels like you've seen it before, but not the I knew it all along phenomenon. It's a different thing. General intelligence is little g. It's all the things that you think you know. Factor analysis, cool. Skipping it. Fluid intelligence, young people. Crystallized intelligence, old people. I actually talked to Miss Driscoll today about that, if anyone knows Miss Driscoll. Savant syndrome is being technically very, very low functioning, but being a genius at the same time. Grit is passion and perseverance and pursuit of long-term goals. Hopefully you've been showing grit all year to pass your AP test. Emotional intelligence, the ability to perceive, understand, manage, and use emotions. What I don't have, right? Give me F's in the chat. Am I right? Intelligence test, a method for assessing an individual's mental aptitudes. Aptitude means things that you're capable of doing. So the SAT test is all about what are you capable of being and doing in college. That's why they give you that test. It's not to say who you are right now. It's who you can become. Genius. All right. Achievement test. A test designed to assess what a person has learned. So I'm always giving you an achievement test. Aptitude tests are what you can achieve. Speaking of, did y'all watch my video? Did you see how well I did on the mock test I took for AP World? I'm a genius. I know. Mental age. I'm 14. Anyway, a measure of intelligence test performance devised by Binet, but it has a problem because it doesn't really work for adults after a certain age because we don't continue to age up in that way. IQ comes from Binet as well, the Stanford Binet IQ test. And IQ, the average is 100. It is a normal curve. It occurs in a normal curve. That should tell you all that you need to know. This is the most widely used intelligence test. I would love to take it, but I don't want to know how dumb I am. Most important terms in Unit 2. Do you want me to go back? I'll go back when I'm done with this and zoom through Unit 2 and say. Okay, standardization. Normal curve. Normal curve is always important. So yes, normal curve. Learn it. Memorize it. Fun effect, not so much. Reliability, validity, always important. Okay. Cool. Cross-sectional study, longitudinal study, very important. Growth mindset, meh, kind of important. Stereotype threat, a little bit important. Not very much. Video. Gosh, that's bright. Okay, going back to the beginning, I'm going to tell you what's important. Not so much. Perceptual set, maybe. Gestalt as a concept, yes. Visual cliff, probably the most important of the rest of these. Convergence, relatively important. Constancy as a concept, potentially important. Golly, it's double clicking. Cognition and metacognition, super important. Concept prototype, kind of important. Schema, pretty darn important. Assimilation accommodation, that's the kind of question that they'd like to ask you to actually hurt you. So those matter. Convergent thinking, divergent thinking, pretty important. Executive functioning, important. Algorithm heuristic, kind of important. Insight, not so much. Confirmation bias, probably not that much. Fixation, mental set, equally important, but not super important. Heuristics, we're still there. I already talked about that. Overconfidence, not so much. Belief, perseverance, probably not. You can figure it out, so it already might be a question anyway. Encoding, storage, retrieval, kind of. Not really in those terms, though. These types of memory, maybe. Probably not for any of those. LTP, maybe. Types of processing, not so much. Those, not so much. Chunking, mnemonics, any of these, maybe. A little bit. Shallow processing, deep processing, a little bit. Semantic, yeah. Hippocampus, incredibly important. Priming. Let me think. Move, congruent memory, serial position effect. Kind of. This is a pretty important slide. Retrieving memories. Types of amnesia. Pretty important. Repression, reconsolidation. Sorry, someone's coming home. Disrupting my peace. Misinformation effect. Not so much. Here, intelligences are pretty important. Ignore the dogs. None of that. Some of this. Cool. All right, moving on to Unit 3. Any questions? Any other questions? I'm moving on. Unit 3. If the dogs are too loud, let me know. I'll kick them out.
Hello, boys.
Hello. I'm streaming right now. It's okay. Where am I going? What am I doing? All right, Unit 3. Whew. Do you want me to go slower or do you want me to go faster? We do have 3 more units to finish, so... Alrighty then. Developmental psychology. Developmental psychology is psychology of development. Is it stages or is it not stages? That's what matters. Cross-sectional study, longitudinal studies. Important. Teratogens. Things that hurt babies. Fetal alcohol syndrome. I doubt you're going to have to identify it, but you could learn the symptoms. Okay? It wouldn't hurt. Maturation. Critical periods. Important. Critical periods. Optimal period, early life, where you have to do something. Critical period, you have to do it during that phase. Otherwise, you'll never get it. Sensitive periods are not as important, but they still have to do with something being acquired or not. Adolescence, puberty, menopause. Yes. Kind of. But more in their stage theories than anything. Okay. All the things that it's illegal to teach you. It's still all going to be on the test. Relational aggression, sex and gender, maybe. They like to say, where does the X or where does the Y chromosome come from? And it comes from the father. They like to ask that question sometimes. Testosterone, estrogens, primary sex characteristics. This is your important stuff. Primary sex characteristics and secondary sex characteristics is the most important on that. Gender roles, sexual aggression, gender identities, social learning theory is most important here. The theory that we learn social behavior by observing and imitating and by being rewarded or punished. That is operant conditioning. That's why we're talking about it. Gender typing, androgyny, not a thing. No. Schemas, it's back. That's how important it is. It's back again. Cognition, assimilation, accommodation, sensory motor stage, object permanence. Sensory motor stage, yes, important. Pre-operational stage, yes, important. Object permanence, the awareness that things continue to exist, even if not perceived. You just got to know that that happens in a stage for Piaget. Piaget. You might want to tell these apart. Just remember the order that they come in, maybe. They might ask what order they come in, and that's unfair, but it happens. Theory of mind is being able to think outside of your own mind. Understand that other people's things exist. All right, let's try to get to things. Language, phonemes and morphemes, probably important. Stages of speech, maybe important, not really. Broca and Wernicke, incredibly important. If you're writing this down, write this down. Ecological systems theory, no. Attachment, yes. Imprinting, no. Strange situation, Mary Ainsworth, maybe. Secure attachment, insecure attachment is a part of that. Knowing what babies did in the room when their parents left has to do with that. Temperament is how angry you are. I'm very angry. I'm vengeance. I'm Batman. Basic trust, self-concept. Erik Erikson, this is the first stage of Erik Erikson's stages of psychosocial development. Self-concept. Who am I? Parenting styles. I should have typed something here. It's fine. Authoritarian is the bad one. Aryan, bad. Permissive means you get away with it. You get away with everything. That leads to bad kids. Neglectful leads to bad kids. Authoritative is good parenting. Cool. Good talk. Identity. Social identity. Who am I? Hold on. I'm probably going to finish this unit, and then I'll take a break, and I'll come back after I do therapy. So that'll be like 8:15. But you need to go to sleep by 10. Okay? Emerging adulthood is adolescence. It's now growing. We're not fully independent. Social clock. It's getting pushed back as well because of that emerging adulthood and adolescence. Oof, the issues here. We've got them all. Basic trust. You have all those. All right. If you have your notebooks, some of them were in my classroom still. Learning, habituation, associative learning. Associative learning is learning that certain events occur together, which is like classical conditioning. Stimulus, respondent behavior, operant behavior, cognitive learning, acquisition of mental information. Cool. I don't want to use up too much of my brain. I have to finish this unit soon. Otherwise, I won't have anything to say in therapy. Classical conditioning is Pavlov. Anybody? Anybody? Probably not. I doubt it. It didn't acquire. It wasn't acquired. There was no acquisition. If you never ever salivated when I said Pavlov, then it didn't acquire. Neutral stimulus is a stimulus that elicits no response before conditioning. Conditioning and classical conditioning, operant conditioning, are two of the potentially most important concepts in the entirety of psychology. Please pay attention to it. Higher order conditioning. Extinction is when it goes away. Spontaneous recovery is when it comes back. Generalization is when you can apply it to other things. Discrimination is being able to tell the difference between two stimuli. Preparedness. Cool. It's just that there's a biological predisposition to acquire certain things and learnings, like Garcia effect, which is me throwing up. Pavlov's led to Watson, Little Albert. Little Albert's important. Biological predispositions. Cool. Operant conditioning. Punishments and rewards to reinforce behavior or to decrease behavior. Operant chambers like a Skinner box. Reinforcement shaping is what we did, booing that kid to get on the chair. Positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. Primary reinforcers are food or things that have us operate our drives. Conditioned reinforcers, something that we learn later, like money, to be enforced. Reinforcement schedule is a pattern that defines how often a desired response will be enforced. Continuous reinforcement schedule is reinforcing the desired response every time it occurs. So every time a dog sits, you give it a treat. It leads to quicker extinction, though. So you got to find a different reinforcement schedule. The best one is variable interval. Cool, because they don't know when it's going to happen. So they perform their best the whole time. Partial, intermittent reinforcement schedule, fixed ratio schedule. Fixed means the same every time. Ratio means responses. Variable means changing. Ratio means responses. Variable amount of responses. So I give my dog a treat the first time it sits, the third time it sits, then the second time it sits, then the ninth time it sits. Okay, that is that variable part of ratio, but it's based on responses. Fixed ratio is every time it sits. Would that be continuous? Or every second time it sits? Cool. Fixed interval, it means the same amount of time. So every 10 minutes, I give my dog a treat, as long as we're working consistently during that time. Variable interval means 1 minute, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 3 minutes. And they never know when it's coming, so they're always on edge. They're always on their best behavior. Punishment decreases the behavior. Instinctive drift, the tendency of learned behavior to gradually revert to biological predisposed patterns. I didn't do it. Cognitive map is your map of your surroundings. Like, you can picture yourself walking through the school. That's a cognitive map or a mental map. It's the same thing. Latent learning is learning that is, until you have to show that you actually learned something, you might not know that you learned something. Insight learning is solving problems through sudden insight. Observational learning is learning by observing others, like Bandura's Bobo doll experiment. Modeling is the process by observing and imitating a specific behavior. Cool. Mirror neurons help us learn things faster. We watch people do it. Monkey see, monkey do. Prosocial behavior is positive, constructive, helpful behavior that you do because it helps you socially. Antisocial behavior is negative, destructive, harmful behavior. Bobo doll experiment.
The Bobo doll.
And I'm done. I'm done. Okay. I'm going to be done until after I do therapy. I will see you later. And it's just probably Ashley in here anyway. So, bye, Felicia. If I don't come back, watch Mr. Sin's video. Watch all the videos.